Chris Bowerbank joins us from DC to talk Liverpool's push for Champions League football, Harry Kane transfer news, and how the top four will shake out with only 2 games left. We're down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio, and this is the Boys In Bolos podcast. Well, welcome back to the Boys In Bolos podcast. Jarrett again down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio. Week 37 is upon us, and it's heating up. It's getting hot.
It's getting spicy.
Down in the top 4 race. We know the teams have been relegated. The 3 teams, they're out of there.
Everton knows it's one of the teams that was relegated very well.
They do. That Everton, they had a tough week.
Actually, since we're talking about Merseyside, we actually have a Liverpool fan here today. So, Chris, welcome to the pod. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here. Excited to talk Liverpool if that's where we're going.
I feel like he really liked that Everton jab because that was a swift kidney punch, like Sheffield kidney punch.
I have a.
You were actually happy. You were actually probably more happy in that result than he was.
I do. I honestly, since week 1, since Everton were the Premier League champions of September,
you can't take that away from them.
I can't take that.
You can try, but you can't.
I've been calling them Shampton FC. Is that what I've been calling them?
Shampton FC, yeah.
Shampton FC all season. I'm glad Liverpool's finally finding their pecking order down the
Everton.
Everton, sorry.
Everton. That was a Freudian slip.
What did I say?
You said Liverpool.
Liverpool. Sorry, I meant Everton. Sorry, Chris. I apologize.
I heard it.
Chris took it personally.
He took it personally. He's over there.
Yeah, he just blocked his camera.
I know.
Like, these
I
guys.
meant Everton. I'm glad they found their pecking order a little bit.
Well, you know what's happening is the cream is rising to the top.
Exactly.
It took a while, but it's all coming to the top. And on that note, we're gonna bring it right into it. Is Liverpool finishing top 4?
This is a question for Chris.
This is obviously I don't.
Oh, you're just gonna throw this at me.
Yeah.
Right in the
we could talk about your Marvel backstory, but
do I get to explain my answer, or am I just giving you a yes or no answer?
You have as much time as you'd like.
Okay. I think the answer is yes, but I think it's going to come down to the final day. I mean, you can't watch that remarkable Alisson Becker 95th minute header goal and say to yourself, like, this is logical at this point. It's not. That was really one of those moments that was unbelievable. You saw him running up and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like Liverpool's really not going to make Champions League. Van Dijk's not going to play in Champions League next season. And everybody's kind of already thinking of their talking points. And all of us were floored. There was not one person watching that game that expected that ball to go in. No one expected it to go in. So that alone gives me the sort of Liverpool, Barcelona comeback vibes. You got fans at Anfield on the last day of the season against Crystal Palace. Burnley won't be an easy match by any means. But I think with Leicester winning the FA Cup, Rodgers doesn't need to make top 4. Chelsea worried about a Champions League final. And I mean, with all due respect to you, Jeff, West Ham and Tottenham, like, mathematically could still get in, but yeah, let's push them aside. It's the problem is it's not in Liverpool's hands, but I think when you see something like that goal cannot happen and Liverpool not make top 4, it's got to happen now. It's got to happen, or that goal is like, it's just too special of a moment.
It had company vibes from a couple of years ago with City when they were the last 10 minutes and you're like, are they going to score? And then company just strokes it from 35 yards out. It had those vibes. Like, this is kind of a destiny thing. Like, it's supposed to happen. It's one of the most, I told Jeff, I think it's in my top 10 of goals I've seen live, just to be like, holy shit, that happened. Because I told Jeff too, he literally finished better than Werner, like way better than Timo Werner has all season. And part of it is that when the goalie goes up, there's a mismanagement because then they literally have one more player in the box. You can't guard them all if the goalie's kind of going to be on his line, depending upon if you have guys on the post. But he took that like a freaking pro. And I don't remember a goal that late from a goalie ever. I think
it's never happened in the Premier League.
It's never happened in I think in the Premier League history, but
yeah.
I've seen it in the Bundesliga a couple times. But that was like,
I'm sure they practice it though, right?
I'm sure like
I don't know. He looks like he's been staying after training. He took that that was like Drogba 88th minute.
I can guarantee they're not practicing CAA.
Hey, you don't know
though. In a near post run, they do have a set piece coach. You're right.
Yeah, they have a set piece coach. Klopp hired a guy years ago and paying him in Bitcoin to do throwing coaching.
It's like something that like would be like a trick play in a high school game.
I mean, a trick play. Yeah.
I mean, It's like something that would be practiced in high school game.
It was unreal. And I think it also sets the precedent now that if you're behind in a game, goalie's going up.
Yeah,
goalie's going up.
If
the goalie's over 5'11", like most Premier League goalies are, you're going to be one of the taller guys in the boxes anyways. I mean, you look at some Premier League teams and they're all stumps like me. They're like 5'6", 5'7". So you get a guy in there who's 6 feet who can kind of jump. He's going to be a problem. I don't know. It changes things. I think it was an incredible goal. It was incredible. And I, as a Chelsea fan, wanted Liverpool to tie. I was like, thank God it's not on us to beat Leicester and, beat Aston Villa on the final day. But you think yes, even though it's not in your hands, which I think is, yeah.
Logic says no. Jota out and Sadio Mane playing the way he's playing and the weapons in air quotes that Liverpool brought on to save the day, Shaqiri in the game. There's not a lot of offensive like prestige coming onto the field. They're going to have to find goals from somewhere. And that Salah goal really too was another one where that ball, not a lot of people expected him to hit that first time, but it's like moments like these are what separates Liverpool from a lot of teams when they're at their best with Virgil van Dijk in the side. And I'm not saying they're playing their best, but all those players want to play in Champions League next year. That's for sure.
For sure. Honestly, I think that Leicester has a really tough last two games, right? So do
you think they have harder games than Liverpool has easier games. Yes. Do you think they have harder games than Chelsea's?
Chelsea has Leicester and
Aston Villa. Knowing that Chelsea also have to keep in mind that they still have to play the Champions League final.
Yes. They have two tougher games.
Okay.
For sure.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. Because they have to play like you said, they have to play
Leicester has to play Chelsea next tomorrow,
and then
they play Tottenham on the last day.
At Spurs playing at home. Is that a home game?
I'm not
for
sure.
Spurs?
I'm not sure.
Spurs have been good at home.
The last week, as Chris brought up, does matter because of the fan aspect. If you haven't had fans all year long, and then all of a sudden there's fans, you're going to be pumped. You're going to be fucking pumped. And I don't know if that was the difference in the FA Cup, but I felt like the Leicester fans were more boisterous maybe than the Chelsea fans, and maybe that's.
I thought Leicester were really lucky to come away with the win at the FA Cup. They basically parked the bus after they scored their goal, and that offsides call was like very, very close. So for them to take 3 points from Chelsea this weekend or this week or whatever it is, it's midweek, right?
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting. I think Chelsea will play Pulisic, and I think they won't play. Put it this way, I don't think they'll play Ziyech, which I think will be a great decision for Chelsea to win that Leicester game, because I think it's going to come down to Leicester, really, whether they do the slide, whether it happened last season and it falls apart for them, or they get top four. I mean, I don't know.
So Chris thinks Liverpool's top four. Who else is in the top four between Chelsea and Leicester for you, Chris?
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm gonna go with Chelsea making it in as well. I think Leicester's schedule is tough for me, and I think had they not won the FA Cup, I think they would have been a little bit more focused here. But
don't discount the fact that Maddison's not at 100%, and Evans, their center back, is like dicey. He started the game against Chelsea in the FA Cup, and then he came out about 20 minutes in. I think he's pretty much their rock at center back, and Soyuncu is pretty good, but I don't think he's back to last season's form. So I think defensively, Evans being out is a huge deal, like a huge deal.
I agree with Chris, obviously biased opinion. I think Leicester was super lucky to win the FA Cup.
Yep.
There was the offside, which is literally millimeters.
Yep.
In pre-VAR, that's a goal. We tie. And at that point, we're going to win. We have 7 offenders, 7 offensive guys in the field, and they're literally just stacking bodies. And the other thing is, Chelsea are so brutal to break down right now. It takes a Tielemans wonder goal against Kepa, who's like a third-string MLS goalie, which we still have on the field. And if you don't do that,
you're putting him
can't
there?
Beat us. Dude,
Look,
he's so brutal. Chris, he's so brutal.
I thought Kepa
he's like,
played
put
fine.
me in therapy, dude.
Kepa, I don't fault Kepa for that goal, but Mendy would have got a hand on that.
Okay.
But that's it. But they're just different.
But that's the point, is that Tielemans' wonder strike was the difference, right? And it wasn't much. It wasn't much. I agree with that. I mean, thank goodness, I'm Jamaican. Seeing Wes Morgan score an own goal would have just been heartbreaking. So I'm glad to see him, no offense, lift the FA Cup and make us proud,
Honestly, good on him. He came on. He had some good clearances. It reminded me of when Colombia was beating the shit out of Japan in 2014 in the World Cup. And we brought on Mondragon, who was 43 at the time. And Colombia's like, James is literally doing the salsa on like the entire country of Japan. But they got like a breakaway and they came down. It's Mondragon. It was like D2 Julie Cat Gaffney. And he makes this ridiculous kick. So he basically fell over, kicked the ball out. And it was one of the highlights of the World Cup for Colombians. We were like, that was the greatest thing. He was the oldest player to ever play in the world. He's 43.
Yeah, it's old.
We all know like 30-year-olds who can't even run. Anyway, yeah, that was cool. It was cool to see Wes Morgan come in. I think who's the backup for City who played against Newcastle? Was it Scott Carson or something like that?
Oh yeah,
dude,
former Liverpool man.
Yeah, he looked rough.
He was rough.
He had a little
stomach punch on him.
I like
good,
but like in the interview, it's just like, I thought it was a joke. I literally saw it and I thought it was a joke. Like, how did it feel to get out there? I'm like, oh my God. City Pep doesn't care.
Yeah.
Pep doesn't care. Well, all right. So Chelsea top 4, Liverpool top 4. So then that means Leicester will finish 5th. Who do you have in the 6th place? It's between
Spurs and West Ham.
Spurs and the Hammers.
Yeah, that's a tough toss up for me. I'm sorry to say it. I'm really sorry to say it. I mean, you have West Ham, who, you both mentioned Everton earlier on this show already. I mean, West Ham lost to Everton. That's how poor their form has been recently. I think, Jesse Lingard isn't giving us what he gave us earlier this season. And then I have to ask, with all of this Harry Kane nonsense going around, how does the season end for Spurs? It could be, they could both throw out duds in this final week of the season.
That's totally
so. I say this respectfully. I really do think I'm trying to be respectful here.
He's trying to be respectful.
I don't think, does it really matter if you're 5th or 6th at this point? And I don't think it really matters and I don't think there's any real differentiator at the moment. I mean, if y'all had a real manager, I would maybe lean towards Spurs, but
yeah, it's fine. I'm a Spurs fan. They'll be talking about 2 other teams and suddenly Spurs are in the conversation. It's bizarre the way that Spurs get brought up with it's just everybody wants to shit on Spurs even when they're not even talking about Spurs. So it's fine.
But I don't think anyone wants to shit on Spurs, Jeff.
Yes, they do. Oh, they absolutely do.
There's one thing.
There's an agenda. There's an agenda against Spurs.
There's one thing that you have going for you, though, before the end of the season, and that's Spurs cannot finish lower than Arsenal this season, or that would be treacherous. So you have to at least win a match before the end of the season. So if I had to pick one, I'm picking Spurs, just because Arsenal is not too far behind in the table. Sadly, we're now at the point where, they could theoretically finish above you.
Yeah, true.
Oh my God.
I think that what Jarrett said about the cream finally rising to the top is kind of really coming to fruition in the last couple of games of the season, because we're seeing Everton kind of fall behind. We're seeing Villa play really bad. We're seeing, the top 6 look exactly like the top 6 last season. shuffling around a few spots, but basically the top 6 being the top 6. It's pretty telling about how, like, you spend the money, you basically get where you are in the table. There's not any surprises. West Ham is really the only surprise. It's because they had Lingard, who had like it's almost like a flash in the pan.
Dude,
he is a quality
is
player.
Is he not getting tested for steroids?
I don't know, but
he looks like Robinho in like 07 on Madrid, just like dicing
people. He really does.
He's unbelievable. But yeah. I was telling Jeff, because Jeff seems to think there's a deep state agenda against Spurs, which may or may not be true. That if you look at the top 6, other than Spurs, all the other 5 teams have won a Premier League in the last decade. So they're all actual real teams, and then Spurs, and you've seen Aston Villa pop out of there. Southampton were there for a minute. They got thrown way the hell out. Everton were there. They got thrown out. And West Ham hung out. West Ham were like the last couple freshmen at the seniors party, and finally they were asked to leave. And it's kind of shaken out,
the way it should shake out.
It's shaken out the way it should shake out.
I was on the Spurs supporters Facebook group this week, and I was like, look, bottom line, all the teams that finished ahead of us really should finish ahead of us. They run better. They spend more money. They have better players. They have better managers. Why would they finish behind us? Like, why would Spurs finish ahead of any of those teams? And then also it's a COVID season, so it's weird. There's no fans in the stadiums. This is always going to be a weird asterisk season for me. It's always very interesting about like the way that these teams have played. I think a lot of things would have changed if there were fans in the stadium. And people disagree with me in the group.
I disagree with you that if there were fans, because it's like
you think everybody has a disadvantage.
Everyone has a disadvantage. I'm saying there's like, it's not like if there's a control and then you're doing a test. They're both.
I just think
everyone's playing like blindfolded.
I think it depends on the team.
Oh my gosh, I'm dead on the inside. Can we change it?
Yeah. Well, one more thing on Spurs. I mean, I don't think you can discount the fact that you made a League Cup final. I mean, I think that is still something to at least know. Obviously, you made the Champions League final. You made finals before, but like you were really close to actually winning something this season. And like, who knows what Mourinho would have done to win that final?
Sure.
Who knows what he would have had all those guys laying in the goal.
Yeah.
Like preventing a goal just to get to PKs. Yeah. Just to get to PKs.
Yeah,
like he would have sabotaged. Yeah.
It would have had Hobier on the 18, Son a little bit farther up, and Harry Kane on the center circle, and that's the lineup. That's it. You just got guys. Anyway, I want to ask Chris what he thinks about Liverpool, because for me, it's like if Liverpool doesn't get Champions League, who's leaving? And if they do get Champions League, who's leaving? And then maybe who are you bringing in?
It's a reality I do not really want to consider, but here we are.
Well, we're
the likelihood of Liverpool. Yeah. I mean,
and really, you'll know by tomorrow at this time, because Chelsea and Leicester play, so you'll know what's what. You'll have a better idea.
I really think the only player that could potentially leave if we don't qualify for Champions League is Mo Salah. I think that's really the only person at the moment that would leave. And I don't even know if it's likely, because nobody has money, nobody's spending money. And we saw what, the European Super League, like we saw the desperation that came with that. Like no players are going for huge fees, which is probably why Kane won't leave Spurs unless, he orchestrates something behind the scenes and Manchester United somehow like get their shit together and spend money. Because I don't think Manchester City's going to bring in Harry Kane. And to bring it back to Liverpool, like who's going to pay 80 million plus pounds for Mo Salah, even though he's worth more than that right now? Like nobody. Real's broke, Barcelona's broke, all these teams are broke. So I think with Van Dijk back in the team, they're in Europa League, they should win Europa League. And I think that would be the expectation in that tournament if they're in there.
If they stay in the Champions League, is there a player that you think they bring in? Or is there a player you would like them to bring in? And let's put money aside. Like, who do you think would complement the team the most?
I mean, I think the Konate rumors and or confirmation, I think was the ideal signing. I'm a center back myself. Like, a pairing to Virgil van Dijk was what Liverpool really needed. That was always very clear that the amount of center back pairings we threw out when Van Dijk was injured, was how many pairings? 17 pairings or something this season. It's been outrageous. I think Nat Phillips is a EFL League one center back.
That's accurate.
Yeah, and so Matip can't stay healthy. Joe Gomez can't stay healthy. A center back is by far would be my biggest priority, and then also maybe another attacking option because Jota gets hurt, goals dry up. Like, where are the goals coming from? You need a little bit more variability, I think, if you really want to challenge a team like City. That's just too deep.
How long is Jota out for? And I asked that thinking of the Euros, obviously.
The rest of the season. I think he'll be fit for the Euros.
You think he'll be fit?
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge injury. It's pretty minor.
It's like a 2-week injury.
I forget that they say he's out for the season. I'm like, oh my God, it's a lot of time. It's like 6 days.
So yeah, I mean, the thing I struggle with is like every team's like, oh, we need a center back, right? So at some point there's only so many center backs available. Right.
I think top center backs in the world that would potentially move. I mean, it's under 5.
Yeah.
And there's so many teams that need them.
But Fabrizio says it's confirmed. So I'm just kind of waiting now, waiting to see what happens this week. I'm a patient Liverpool fan. I've seen many dark years. And so for me, like, I just want to see the best center back in the world come back, and we'll see what happens. I think we all kind of saw what his impact was with Liverpool this season. Like, I think he's that good that granted, Liverpool wasn't firing the way they were firing the last couple of years, but I think without having that presence, that rock, Liverpool conceding goals and then having defense really be a liability, they couldn't press the way they wanted to press. They couldn't, step up the way they wanted to step up. And they were constantly vulnerable to teams like Burnley that could just pump one down the field and, they're scrambling. So
is there a situation where Van Dijk comes back and he's just not the same, right? Because he comes back after an ACL, MCL, whatever he had, and he's just not the same player. Like, he's not confident. He doesn't want to get hurt again. He's not, because you basically have to play full commitment as a center back, especially in his role.
I think he'll be fine.
Look, there's a scenario in which he comes back at 100% and he's the same player, but there's also a scenario where he comes back and he's not the same, and he's a half step behind. He's afraid of getting hurt. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just putting it out there.
So I've made this argument before talking about great players, and the comment was made about Zinedine Zidane in 2002. It's like, even if he plays in the World Cup, obviously we know what happened to France in 2002, but the commentator was like, even Zinedine Zidane at 80% is still top 3 in the world. So you want him on the field. And the only thing I would see after being around other players in college who would like hurt their ACL or, or any PCL or MCL, the only thing that was lost was speed, but his reading of the game is so phenomenal. He'll just have to just step that part up and you won't even notice. And in fact, he could be better. Thiago Silva is one of the slowest human beings on the planet over 50 yards in the Premier League, but he's taken Chelsea basically to the Champions League final. He's been the huge difference in the 3-back. Now, obviously in a 2-back, it's a completely different thing. And Chris, you're a center backs, you'll know the spacing is different and, you're going to be exposed a little bit more, but I think Virgil will come back even stronger, taking time out and just watching games and seeing things, because, and the comment I want to make about center backs is that basically center backs win you leagues now. And there's probably a lot behind that because Company wins it literally by scoring the goal in the penultimate game for City 3 years ago. Last year, Virgil van Dijk just basically said, you shall not pass, and had an unbelievable season. And this year it's Ruben Diaz. Yeah. Ruben Diaz has been a freaking stud. Signing of the season that I don't think many people would have said he's going to be the signing of the season. He and what's the other guy? Joao Cancelo. He's also been phenomenal. And I didn't think either of those guys, like, yeah, whatever. I was really excited to see Havertz, really excited for Werner. I thought Jota was going to do well. But
a lot of teams were like Ruben Diaz is legit because he was from Benfica. He was proven. They paid 80 million for him.
Yeah.
And nobody was willing to pay 80 million except for City because they could afford 80 million. Let's put that out there. That is the difference.
Do you want to roast City? Is
Sound,
this the City?
yeah,
No,
it's
just
it's
the
like,
fact.
You sound like your pockets are thin over there, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like if every team's like if every team in the COVID market's like, oh, we can only spend 40 on the center back from the Portuguese league because we don't know what he's like, and then City's like, nah, fucking 80 million, we'll spend it, fuck it, Reddit, whatever, doesn't matter. And then it works out for them. They look like geniuses, but
Jeff,
there is a scenario where he does not work out. He's just a guy who's good in the Portuguese league.
No, there have already been those scenarios. Otamendi,
right.
Di Michaelis. Like, let's not forget about Colo Torre. There have been tens of center backs that City have tried to figure out. And,
Otamendi
it's bullshit.
Was so bad.
It's bullshit because we're not going to go down there. We're not going to go down this path because it's the financial fair play shit is like, is so far from like what they were like, how it should be and what's actually happening. And if they even should be in the Champions League and if they even should be in the League Cup shit. It's like my beef with City is like
it's deep.
It's deep because
it sounds like you're
Spurs wanted
subtle beef.
Spurs wanted Diaz, right? And they offered.
Oh, it comes back to Spurs.
Well, no, they're cheap, so they only offered like 40 million for him. The same with they tried to get. The Spurs tried to get.
Hence Chris's comment about your pocket.
Yeah, I know, but Spurs tried to get Diaz. They tried to get Grealish. They tried to get all these players.
All right. Anyway. I want to bring up a footy.
It's oil money. If you have oil money, you can just buy whoever you want.
On your question though, on Virgil, you asked me if Virgil will be back.
Okay, sorry.
I'm with you on that. I agree. Speed, agility is not really part of his game. He's really not an enforcer ball winner that's going to be up on the field. He's usually the deepest guy anyways. And it's his size and positioning that's integral to his game. So I'm with you. I think even if he's 85% of himself, 80% of himself, he's still twice as good as Nat Phillips, twice as good as Ozan Kabak, 3 times as good as Reece Williams.
There's something
I'm cool with an 80% DVD.
80% still probably gets you close to the Premier League title and probably pretty deep in whatever European competition.
I just want Liverpool fans and everybody in the Premier League to like curb their expectations on his like return to the Premier League. Like he's just suddenly going to be like the best player in the field. But I hope he does. Let's leave it at that.
Who is it?
I just like worry that like people are they're going to hype him up and then maybe he's like a step behind. I'm not saying
if he were any other position on the field other than maybe goalie, I would say I'm worried.
True, because he doesn't have to like burn somebody he doesn't have to like roast somebody.
He's Maldini. His head is Maldini.
Yeah,
his head is if I'm making a tackle, I've already done a bunch of shit wrong. Right. He barely makes tackles. He normally just like shepherds the ball out because he puts his body in between and it's like a dance. He's perfect, but
he's just like massive. Yeah,
he's very good.
Exactly. He doesn't have to. What happened with him in Pickford is like,
the bottom line is
getting eaten by a shark in a lake.
Okay, but he did
fuck
up his
ankle from the game.
He fucked his knee up pretty bad.
Facts.
Yeah, he fucked his knee up pretty bad.
Yeah, well, we know he did like this Liu Kang scissor at his knee from an angle.
It was bad.
Dude, it was Mortal Kombat, bro. He took his soul. Anyways, I want to read this Footy Emporium thing today because it had me in stitches. I was like on a Zoom call on mute and I was giggling to this, and people were probably like, "Why is he laughing?" We're talking like budget. It says, "Football is crazy. Last season, City were supposedly banned from the UCL, and many thought that the 5th place team at the time, Sheffield United, would get a UCL spot. Now, City are in the UCL final, and Sheffield have been relegated." Dude, the Premier League is the real Game of Thrones. Anyone can just get sliced.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the upcoming week, because you guys are playing Burnley, and you made a little quip about Burnley earlier. That sometimes if you had bad center backs, it can be tough to play against Burnley because they'll just lob it over the top.
Chris Wood will do his magic.
Yeah, Chris Woodinho, FIFA 11, gonna get you. So actually, do you wanna start with that game and give us your prediction? I'm skipping way ahead. Normally I'll go by the games, but what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think normally I would probably predict draw in this situation, but given I've already said that Liverpool is going to qualify, I pretty much have to give you a win for Liverpool, and it's going to be a thin margin. So I'm going to say 1-0.
That's gonna be stress, dude. Chris is gonna be stressed, white knuckling.
I mean, you saw the West Brom match. Like there were a few chances, but like,
oh, I know. It's
going to be a grind out road.
You're gonna need an Allison Miracle.
We're gonna need Origi to come off the bench and do something. Who knows? Like,
yeah, you're gonna need a
Jordan
short
Shaqiri.
territory.
You're gonna need a short corner Origi magic.
Yeah, something.
So tomorrow we have Southampton Leeds. It's not even. We're not gonna talk. I just decided executive decision. We're not gonna talk about games that are inconsequential. I don't care about these teams because they're not playing for anything anymore. They're gonna finish on the table. So let's talk about Manchester United Fulham. It's settled. Brighton Hove, Manchester City. Let's skip right ahead to Chelsea Leicester. Who do you think wins this one? I feel like you're going to say Chelsea because you've already predicted them to be in the Champions League.
I don't want to gift you everything. I'm gonna say draw. I'm gonna say 2-2. They're actually gonna somehow find out how to score. I know you hate that, but
who fine. Chelsea or Leicester?
Both. I know
both. Teams,
I know.
Dude,
2-2.
Honestly,
2-2, I think they're both gonna. It's gonna just. I think it's gonna be the opposite of what people expected. Although Chelsea's played so many boring games this season, I hope you're ready to come to terms with that.
No, I'm like a casual Chelsea fan.
Dude, this dude just eviscerated me.
Yeah, he did. Because like I watch a lot of Chelsea.
Him.
Jarrett and I watch a lot of games together because we're in our like COVID bubble.
We're in our COVID bubble, and normally I'll just watch games on my iPhone, and Jeff has a 75-inch banger of a TV.
Yeah, so he comes over,
yeah.
And we live close by, so he comes. So I have to watch a lot of Chelsea games and like pretend to like Chelsea, but I am like a casual Chelsea fan and been very bored this season. Very, very.
I mean
bored.
there have been some bad ones. That
brutal in the eight.
FA Cup. That FA Cup City match, like so many expectations there.
I'm like, dying,
I was
dude.
fine with it. I was cool with it. Great.
Of course, you're cool.
Boys. Way to give it to him. And then we lost in the final. Anyways.
But I'm saying it's going to be exciting though. It's going to be 2-2 excitement. Tuchel's going to play Tammy Abraham because he's sorry. He feels bad for him.
He's going to put in Hudson-Odoi.
Play
him a lot of minutes.
You know what? He only has 3 subs because we're back in the Prem. In the FA Cup, I love how he like literally went over to the bullpen. He's like, all right, Odoi, Giroud, Pulisic. He's like, all right, I'll take 300 million off the bench and just throw him out in the field, watch him sweat. So, all right, Jeff, do you agree? 2-2. If this ends in a tie, we are setting up for a crazy last week where 3 teams could be in or could be out of the top 4, which is insanity.
I mean, that game was headed. So the FA Cup, Leicester, Chelsea, that game, there wasn't extra time and it had to be decided by PKs or overtime, that was headed for a tie, pretty much. Like, because that should have been a goal. Like, in reality, that should have been a goal. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think 2-2 because I don't think Chelsea can score. And
we got own goals in us.
And Vardy's been like kind of out to lunch drinking Red Bulls.
Dude, Vardy, that's the one thing that Chris said that I kind of agree with. I'm like, yeah, no, he said a lot of things that I agree with. Now, I'm not saying the only thing, but when he said that Leicester doesn't care about this game because they already won the FA Cup, I think he's spot on. Jamie Vardy is drinking somewhere right now.
Jamie Vardy has been partying for 5 days.
Dude. There was he like missed.
Hopefully not orgies, but
yeah, you never know.
Can't have mid-season orgies.
Well, it depends if he's vaxxed. Jeff, so who do you got?
I actually think it's gonna be a 1-1 a 1-1 tie.
Okay.
I just don't see
Chelsea's gonna win this game 2 or 3-0, and you got to put some respect on their name, boys. That's how that goes.
No, if they wear those ugly ass jerseys,
dude. Those jerseys are.
Who's scoring that goal? Who's scoring the goals?
Yeah, who's
Pulisic
scoring the goal?
And Giroud. Pulisic and Giroud.
How are you not playing, dude? He's not playing.
Giroud's not playing 90 minutes, so he's coming in the 80th, scoring 2 for you.
He just needs.
What is he gonna do?
He just needs a chance. He looked bad, and during that Leicester game, he looked out of place.
Dude, he was playing against 6 center backs.
He was out of sorts.
Leicester
dude.
stacked.
He's like 5'11".
We're going to the next consequential game. Yeah, we'll talk about Everton Wolves because Everton can still get in top 6. Everton Wolves, Chris, what do you think?
Oh my gosh. Like
too many opinions.
I can't believe this is a game of importance. I think Ancelotti's like really bottled it. I think he really has. I think Everton are exactly where they should be, exactly where they belong. If James isn't back, I don't think he's back. So I'm going to say Wolves win this one. 1-0.
Sure.
Ancelotti came out today, I think, or yesterday, and he was like, mea culpa, like, I messed up. This is on me. We should have won certain games, this, that, and the other. He's feeling the heat, and I think he's actually could be on the move this summer, but we'll see. I mean, his CV is probably one of the best in Europe. The guy's won all over.
Was Zidane not going back to Real? I think he's one of the candidates for the Madrid job. We were talking
back.
Yeah, we were talking to Alex, one of our former guests. He's an Everton fan, and he's like, Ancelotti's gone. He's not into it. I don't think he's into this project. I don't think he's into this thing. And that's after Alex.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know.
Because Alex really likes Ancelotti.
He bought like an Ancelotti book. He showed it to us and stuff. He was like all in Ancelotti. This was like when Everton was like 5th or something.
This is after they'd won the September Premier League titles.
Yeah,
and they were lifting that, and there was a huge.
I honestly
parade.
I don't think Wolves have any attacking. Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Jimenez, Fabio Silva is like nothing.
That's how bad I think Everton are going to come out.
Yeah,
this midweek, like Wolves just lost 4-0 to Burnley like a few weeks ago. Like that's how bad Wolves are at the moment. Like,
tell us,
I just have zero faith in Everton right now.
Tell us you're a Liverpool fan without telling us you're a Liverpool fan.
I mean,
he's got Wolves 3-0 over Everton. Puts a hundo on it.
No. 1-0. They escape.
Yeah, I in the Spurs Wolves game. I mean, like Traore was their only threat. And I think that's really the case. It's like Traore, like kind of if he is able to do something and he scores a goal or passes it and scores a goal, I think that's their only like really thing that might happen with Wolves. But I really just seeing like a 0-0 draw, like that bad.
Everton just lost to the worst team in the league.
Yeah, like, real bad. And they couldn't score a goal.
I mean, Sheffield exposed them so much by packing in. Everton can't score when they're down. They can't win when they're down. They can't break teams down. So, like, why wouldn't Wolves just Mourinho it up?
You guys have talked me into it. I don't think you heard that.
I heard that.
You're just not going to react?
No, there's nothing to react to. I got nothing to say. I'm as
a Spurs fan.
You're a Spurs fan. You just live with it. You just live with a disappointment.
You just get picked on and you just take it.
It's just like you just
never
get bullied.
Fight the bully. You never fight the bully.
I mean,
get bullied.
Jeff, you know, let's keep going with this energy. Are Spurs going to beat Aston Villa? Because that's who you guys got up.
Yes.
What's the score on that?
It's gonna be like 2-1 or yeah, I guess say 2-2. No, I'm gonna say clean sheet because they actually are like pretty decent at defending when Dyer's not like being a complete idiot, and Lloris is pretty good. So I'm gonna say 2-0.
What do you think about that one, Chris?
I'm gonna agree. I was gonna go 3-0. Spurs strike me as a team that could like throw out a ridiculous performance similar to like the Bale hat trick, like, and it'll mean absolutely nothing, and they'll play amazing football, and you'll be like, wow, like Spurs really are a good team, but it's just gonna have zero meaning. And so yeah, I'm going 2-0.
Or like the narrative will be like they'll win like 2 or 3-0, and then they'll go out and they'll play Leicester and just like bottle it, like when it really matters.
I mean, yeah,
like, that's the thing. It'll come down to like really mattering. It'll be like a cup final, right? And then they'll just like fuck it up. And like Leicester will already be in the Champions League, and they'll play like a bunch of like scrubs, but they'll still lose. It'll be like a Dynamo.
I mean, you've had amazing
situation.
Results. You've had amazing results this year. Like you beat City, you beat some teams.
Yeah.
It's just like clearly the focus is all over.
No, Chris, you backed yourself in a hole. They beat City and then they beat some teams. Do you want to qualify what those teams were? It wasn't Slavia Prague.
It wasn't Slavia Prague. They beat United like 6-2.
Okay, that's what he's alluding to.
That was
honestly, you beat
the
both
best
Manchester teams. I don't know how many teams did that this year.
honestly beating Manchester United 6-2, like just smashing them.
Did you guys get a cup for that? Did they
I
give
got
you
a little,
silverware?
They sent me a little trophy. It was like this
A
big.
mini trophy?
It was a little mini trophy. It was like back when Ole was like, we were talking about him getting sacked.
Oh, dude,
it was such in the
I
narrative.
thought his head was in the guillotine, but
No, didn't happen.
Well,
that's the games for this week. This has been an interesting pod. It's, as always, turned into a Spurs therapy session.
No, it hasn't. Look, the bottom line is I've said this to a lot of people. I said, look,
You said that you're a Chelsea fan now?
Well, that's one thing. I'm a Chelsea fan now. The other thing is that they finished in 6th. They finished the exact same place as they did last year. They've literally treaded water for a season. We've seen Gareth Bale do some stuff, kick the ball around, score some goals. That was fun. We look to the off season. We try to get a new man. We actually try to get a manager, a real one, and sign a player or two.
The off season,
and make sure that Harry Kane doesn't leave.
Who's your ideal Spurs manager at this point? Like a realistic one.
Oh, this guy's got fire.
Don't come for Klopp. Don't come for something that's not gonna happen.
Like a realistic, like who's actually in the running
that you want though. Yeah, that you want there.
Besides Unai Emery, who do you want?
I would really like to see Brendan Rodgers, but it's not gonna. I know that's not gonna happen after he's brought them a cup, and especially if they get Champions League. But Brendan Rodgers would be a great, just like level-headed manager who can get guys, I think, on the same page. They want to play for him. I think other players from other leagues and all around the world would want to play for Rodgers just because of his success and his pedigree. And I think they could bring in like a player or two just based on the manager. I think a lot of players, and I think we discount this, is like a lot of players go to teams for the manager, right? And so like, James goes to Everton because of Ancelotti, right? And so it's we don't know who the players are going to go to Spurs until they get a new manager. I think that's the first thing first, right? And so I can't even talk about what players are going to go to Spurs until I know what manager is going to go to Spurs, because I think there was a lot of signings that happened under Mourinho that I didn't really think were very good signings, and maybe even Mourinho didn't want, but Levy got a part of, and so that's like a whole other conversation. But the manager makes a big difference when it comes to like off-season signings, and so I'd like to see Rodgers. I think it's going to be like, unfortunately, I think it's going to be somebody like who's the guy from Brighton?
Graham Potter.
Graham Potter. Yeah, it might be like a Graham Potter type.
I'd be surprised.
I'd be surprised too, but
Daniel Levy likes flashy things.
Yeah, who do you think?
I don't know. It's not gonna be Graham Potter.
Could be.
Graham Potter's like a Hyundai. The guy drives Lambos, dude. You know what I mean? Like he brought in Mourinho because it was flashy. He brought in Mourinho because he's trying to literally puff his chest up and be like these other teams. He's got a skywalk in his stadium. He can flip the turf around. He wants to bring in NFL teams. The guy's glitz and glam. He's Instagram. Graham Potter's like MySpace. You know what I mean?
That's true. I suppose that's a good take. I like that.
I think if Leicester doesn't get in Champions League, I think Brendan Rodgers could leave.
Yeah.
He won them the FA Cup. They've never done it 123 years. See you, buddy. Thanks for being our coach. We understand you're going to go to bigger money. And maybe he takes James Maddison with him, because that's who you need. You guys need a 10. You haven't had
they're gonna
in the middle since you lost decent Ericsson from like 2018.
So the rumors is that Grealish and Bale have the same agent, and they're trying to get Grealish in. That's the rumor. I mean, whether the money like lines up is probably not going to line up because Levy's a cheap prick, but I mean he is. He's a fucking nickel and dimes people.
Well,
you got a stadium to pay off.
Exactly.
It's not, and they don't even have the naming rights in the stadium, so that's not even. Fucking dark days.
Is that what keeps you up at night?
I don't know.
I wish Spurs had the name.
I wish it was just White Hart Lane. I wish we just kept White Hart Lane, dude.
Oh, that'd be cute.
It would be a lot better.
Well, are we done?
I think that's it. I think that's it.
Chris, thank you for coming on the Boys and Bolos. Feel free to come back to our Spurs therapy sessions anytime.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, we'll see you next time, everyone.
Oh, and last thing, everyone, boysandbolos.com is finally live. We've got swag. We've got tees and mugs. We're adding new stuff all the time. One of the things I'm excited to add is a little bucket hat.
Like circa 1995.
Yeah, well, 1995 is back. I see like high school kids on TikTok wearing Jinko. So like,
all right,
get your chain wallet and let's get down. So anyways, Chris, thank you for coming on. See everyone. Ciao.
Ciao.
Yeah, well, we can tell you that Harry Kane has told Tottenham he wants to leave this summer. Sky Sports News has also been told that Spurs are now making inquiries about replacement strikers. Now, in the face of it, that's quite normal at a club. They always do look ahead and plan ahead for any eventuality. But clearly, if your star striker says that he wants to leave this summer, it makes sense to have some backup plans. So that's something we're being told that Tottenham are looking at. It's Manchester United, Manchester City and Chelsea have all been in touch with Kane's representative CK66, expressing a desire to sign the England international, and that of course is something that will certainly raise eyebrows.
Thanks for listening to the Boys and Bolos podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Twitch at Boys and Bolos.
If you'd like to be a guest, please reach out. You can hit us on any of the social media accounts that Jeff just mentioned, or email us directly at boysandbolos@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and see you next time.